Hello everyone, welcome. If you have aging, hooded eyes, and you have watched more makeup tutorials than you can count, but you are still struggling with your makeup, I think I might know why. Whether it's your simple everyday makeup or you're attempting to do something more glam or soft glam for an event, I'm going to share with you, as a former professional makeup artist of more than 20 years, 3 things you absolutely do not want to be doing if you are still struggling with your eye makeup and you have hooded, aging, and or downturned eyes. You may be watching makeup tutorials or taking advice from some very well-meaning content creators that don't actually have hooded eyes. If the person demonstrating a technique does not have truly hooded eyes, it is definitely going to be more difficult for you to attempt to do that same thing at home. Especially, and this is important, if that person demonstrating a technique to you doesn't also have aging eyes. And I truly don't think anyone would disagree that hooded 20-year-old eyes or even hooded 30-year-old eyes are much less of a challenge than applying makeup to hooded 50-year-old eyes or 60, 70 plus year old eyes. That is something that definitely needs to be taken into consideration. So you might be looking at me right now and thinking, oh, you're in your 50s, so can you really tell me what I've been doing wrong with my 75-year-old eyes? Well, I sort of can, yes, because my mother is around that age and I've done makeup on her several times. I've also worked on many clients in that age range when I was doing bridal makeup work. I not only did makeup for a bride, but also the mother of the bride, the mother-in-law of the bride, the grandmother of the bride. So I really do have a lot of experience with demonstrating hooded eye techniques. Now, even though it might sound like it, I'm really not here to tell you that you should 100% scroll past anyone who's trying to demonstrate a hooded eye technique to you that doesn't have hooded eyes. But if you really are struggling, I do recommend finding some other content creators and or makeup artists. Makeup artists, I know beauty makeup influencers don't love to hear this, but again, I think we would all agree that someone who has been working day in and day out on faces other than their own do have a little bit more or a lot more experience in the area and have worked with different eye shapes and have worked with different skin textures. Choose your help wisely. If you're consistently watching tutorials and how-to videos on how to do makeup for hooded eyes from someone who does not have hooded eyes, there's really not a whole lot of benefit there. You're just going to become frustrated when you're sitting at your vanity attempting to follow along and you're not getting anywhere near the same results. And then ultimately you just end up not putting on any eyeshadow at all or eyeliner, and a lot of us just give up. And I don't want you to do that. The second mistake you're making is you're using makeup brushes that are way too big. And that is something else you'll often see happening when you are watching a makeup tutorial done by someone who doesn't have hooded eyes. This is not the type of brush you want to be using. You don't want to have a ton of even this size. You do want to have some this size, but not a lot. Let me explain why smaller brushes are better. Our lid skin, our eyelid skin, is no longer taut. When you're doing that windshield motion that you may have been taught, I know I was when I first started my makeup career with Trish McAvoy, Laura Mercier in the early 90s, we were told to take a brush, like one of the first ones I showed you, and just go back and forth in the crease. And I'm not saying I never do that, but it is going to become increasingly more difficult as the skin on the lid becomes looser. You're just moving that skin around. You're not doing that nice smooth blend like you would be if you were working on taut 20, 30-year-old eyelids. On that type of young skin, the brush is just gliding back and forth easily. But the older we get, the looser the skin becomes. That skin is moving right along with it. And I'm lucky. My lids are holding up okay as far as the upper portion of the lid. The lower portion and the outer corners, they are losing that elasticity. They are becoming heavier, more hooded, more downturned. So when that becomes the case, we need to use detail brushes. So look at how many brushes I have that look just like this. And this is not even as many as I have. I've got more. Please keep in mind, I did not purchase all of these. I've been doing YouTube for 10 years now. I do thankfully get sent a lot of products, a lot of brushes. What I'm trying to say is you do not need this many. 2 would be ideal. Here's the type of brush I'm talking about. And now I want to show it to you in comparison to that first brush. Bottom one is the larger brush. Top one is clearly the smaller, more detailed brush. And the reason why I'm telling you to use a brush like this versus a brush like this is because with this brush, you can get, let me zoom you in. You can get under that fold, or should I say under the hood. And sometimes I do very gently take my middle finger or my index finger and lift up so that I can get under the fold. So that when you are looking down and perhaps somebody's looking at you, they're not going to see a big gap with no eyeshadow in that area. And by using this type of brush, you can just do a patting motion and do little flicks outward. If you're using a big brush and trying to do that, you're most likely, once again, going to be moving skin around. And I actually do use this to blend out. If I've gotten too much color on the outer corner, I'm going to take a brown just for demonstration purposes here and add a little bit more right to this outer corner. Do you see how I'm able to just dab that on? And then I take the larger brush and soften it. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to get to those smaller areas that I'm aiming to get to. Think about when you're painting a room in your house. You need a bigger paintbrush for the bigger areas and a smaller brush for the smaller areas so that you can get into those little corners without messing up maybe something that's next to it like a cabinet or overlapping an area you don't wish to overlap. So that is the reasoning behind the smaller brushes. Same thing goes for underneath the eyes. You may see a lot of beautiful smoky eye looks where the under eye area is really blown out and it looks beautiful. But on those of us that are a certain age or that have smaller eyes, it really closes up the eye. So you might want some definition under the eye, but you're going to want to use a smaller pencil brush. Look at how tiny these are. These are both from the brand Rougher, and I think this brush number 23 is the tiniest pencil brush I've ever seen anywhere. And it is absolutely perfect for just giving soft definition under the eyes. It's also a great one to own if you have more hooded eyes than even I do, and you really just want to add a little bit of lift to the outer corners. You can just dab this on, almost like you're making a wing, and it's completely effortless, yet looks really good. It's maximum impact with minimal effort. And the final mistake I know a lot of you are making, and I get it, I know why you're making this mistake. Because if you love makeup, if you love beauty, and you're just struggling with adapting to the new normal when it comes to everything about aging. Your face, your body, your hair, all of these things are happening at once. And you've been doing your eye makeup, or maybe you haven't, but if you're someone like me who's been doing your eye makeup every day for years and years and years, and all of a sudden things that used to work aren't working anymore, you're thinking, darn it, I really like the way that used to look, and now it's not looking the same anymore. And one of those things I'm talking about is a simple winged eyeliner, a classic black winged liner, maybe a classic red lip, one of those inspo photos that we think of as just being a classic, beautiful makeup look. I have done videos sharing many methods on how to achieve that look or a similar look on hooded eyes. But if you're still having trouble, I want to address something that you might be doing wrong, which once again is using the wrong tools to achieve the look. Liquid liners are notoriously difficult on hooded eyes, especially as we get older. Maybe your hands are starting to shake a little bit more. Maybe the eyesight is going, and it just feels like it's more effort than it's worth. So if you are someone who still is determined to do a perfect black winged liquid liner, I am going to link at least one of mine that I know I have in the description box of this video for you to check out. I also have several other technique videos that will demonstrate step by step how to get a similar look to winged liner without using a liquid liner or even an eyeliner at all. But if you do want to use an eyeliner to get a soft, smoky wing like I've done today, you want to make sure you're using the right eyeliner pencil. Traditional eyeliner pencils are not easy for us. If you want to use an eyeliner pencil, I recommend using one that is super, super tiny. I spoke about this one from CanMake in a recent video, and it is one of the tiniest little pencils I have ever tried. I am able to get this so stinking close to my lash line. It's incredible. And this is so important, or that is so important, getting it right at the base of your lash, because when you have hooded eyes, you're working with limited lid space. Not only that, you're thinking of transfer, because how many of us have tried to apply a standard or traditional eyeliner to our upper lash lines? The line came out too thick. We open our eyes and bam, that eyeliner is right here, right on our lids, ruining our eyeshadow, making a mess. We're very unhappy and frustrated. So you want to keep that line really, really tight to the base of the lashes. You don't even have to use this to go above the lashes if you don't want to. You can just tight line with this and just wiggle it right at the base of the lashes and get the look of a more defined lash line without taking up any of that valuable lid space. And then the other recommendation I have is to use just an eyeshadow instead of any standard eyeliner pencil or gel eyeliner in a pot or liquid liner. Powder eyeshadow and a tiny, once again, a tiny brush, angled brush, is going to be your new best friend, your new favorite combination if it isn't already. This one is truly ideal for hooded eyes. It's from BK Beauty. It's the 208. You want to take any type of black or brown, richly pigmented eyeshadow. You don't want to be using this technique with any sort of sheer eyeshadow or one that you have to keep going back in to pick up and achieve any pigment. So with this, I'm going to use brown today. I'm just taking my brush and I'm not going in with the side of the brush. Sometimes with different eye makeup techniques, you do want to go in with the side of a brush. But in this case, you want to go in with the tip of the brush. Always, always, always tap off your excess. And then if you have a magnifying mirror, that is definitely what I want you to use. Remember that whole losing your eyesight thing I talked about? I don't need to tell you. That's a real thing. And you're going to want to put your chin up, look down into that mirror, and just press right along the base and of the lashes. When I first started working for Trish McEvoy in the mid to late 90s, the press and wiggle technique was what we were always taught to teach our clients. And the brush we used was the Trish McEvoy number 11 brush. It's just a flat top eyeliner brush that we would teach people to just press and wiggle at the base of your lashes. And at the time, that was pretty innovative and definitely worked for the majority of people. But then I think shortly thereafter, they did come out with an angled brush. And that is when my love for an angled brush overcame my love for that flat top brush. I think an angled brush is so much easier to work with, especially if your eyes turn down on the inner corner and or the outer corner, because for one thing, it's a lot easier to get to that inner corner with a tiny angled brush. And then if you have downturned eyes like I do, you can very easily, I probably should have done this without applying some corner lashes first so you can really see, but you're just able to really build up that outer corner. Instead of following your eye down, you can just do a baby wing, and a baby wing is key, depending on how hooded your eyes are. If your eyes are very, very, very hooded, you just want to stop there. You don't even want to do much of a wing at all. But if your eyes are maybe like a 6 out of 10 hooded like mine, you can just extend it if you'd like. I've sort of done a fake out wing liner where when you're looking at me straight ahead, you can kind of see the wing, but it's not a full-on winged liner because I haven't done much of a connection to the base of the lashes. And I don't want to forget to address this time because I've done other hooded eye videos where I have forgotten to address this, and it's a very common question I get afterwards. What do you do if one eye is more hooded than the other? I can easily answer that because that is my situation as well. This eye, much more hooded than this eye. I can easily, well, not easily, I can sort of easily do a semi-decent looking wing on this eye. This eye, I can even see it right now. I can see that I have a little gap right there. I do go back in and fill in that gap, but it is always just a challenge, even for me, someone who has been a makeup artist trained by some of the best in the business since the mid-90s. Basically, what I'm saying is don't stress about it too much. You want to get everything as even looking as possible, but stop being so hard on yourself. If you do need to add a little bit more shadow to one side than the other, so that when you look directly into the mirror, which is the way most people are going to be looking at you, then do that. If you have to add one extra lash cluster to one side of your eye versus the other, if you wear lashes like I do, go ahead and do that. I have trimmed my lashes to different lengths many times. All right, just to recap, mistake number 1, not getting your advice from the people who truly know best. And that would be makeup artists, ideally makeup artists who have been in the business for a long time, who have worked on a lot of mature clients. 2, you're using brushes that are way too big. You have yet to switch over to smaller brushes, more detail-sized brushes. And then 3rd, you're still trying to achieve a look that, once again, I'm not saying isn't achievable. I am not saying that. There have been times where I have been willing to take the time and really work on that black liquid winged liner. But if you're reaching that point of such frustration, there are other ways to do eyeliner and eyeshadow that are going to be absolutely beautiful. I truly believe that what I've presented to you here today is going to be immensely helpful. And if you did find this video helpful, I do appreciate you giving me a thumbs up, leaving me a comment, sharing it with a friend you think might also find it helpful. If you have any questions at all, please do not hesitate to leave them for me in the comment section. If you are not already subscribed to my channel, I hope that you'll consider doing so. I do upload new videos at least twice per week. I will also have a link to the brushes used in this video, as well as those promised videos on more techniques for hooded eyes. Everything will be in the description box. I just want to thank you all so much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. Oh, by the way, you can also find me on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok under the same username, Risa Does Makeup. So yeah, I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video.